So, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today on this very special anniversary of our beautiful Anvil Center Theatre. Wait For Me Daddy has become an iconic image for the city of New Westminster, and I can attest to that because I've been all over Canada, and we're on banners, we're on posters, we're even on Parks Canada bookmarks, and people know. They don't say it's Vancouver, they know it's New Westminster, so I'm very proud of our city. It's nice to be recognized that. I'm thrilled to be able to present a contemporary response to the anniversary of the photo taken 75 years ago. Before we begin, I would like to thank our sponsors who made this event possible: the City of New Westminster, the Government of Canada, the British Columbia Arts Council, Brief Encounters, and the University of Calgary Faculty of Arts. I'll let you figure that one out after. Our very first performance is a very special one. It features the youngest participants in our program. The students from Lord Tweedsmuir Elementary, located in New Westminster, have been working very hard with Jan Derbyshire and Mrs. Weisner to produce their piece called On Freedom and Discipline. Say what?
Please join me in welcoming the Lord Tweedsmuir Grade 4-5 Performance Ensemble. So we are together as a group, an ensemble, something that's called community art making, where an artist goes into a community, in this case a school, and we talk about, this time, themes that emerged from this picture, very famous picture in these parts, I'm told. So we talked about things that, the first ideas that came up with the kids were, why were these long lines of men marching? Where were they going? Why would anyone do that? And why were the women and children along beside them? And we started to talk about that the year was 1940, and that these long lines of men, brothers, and the sisters beside them, and husbands and wives, and cousins, and sons and daughters, were all marching towards ships to take them to war, where they were asked to go and defend our freedom. So then we discovered that freedom was kind of a very big word, and I got interested in what freedom might mean to them. Who wants to tell me what freedom is?
Playdates and sleepovers.
Playdates and sleepovers.
You can go anywhere.
You can go anywhere.
Being able to make your own choices in life.
Being able to make your own choices in life.
Doing what you want.
Doing what you want. The freedom to not say anything. And then the idea of discipline came up. That all these men were walking in a row, and that it's actually a picture of someone breaking rank, someone deciding to connect to someone, maybe for the last time, we don't know. So then we started to talk about this idea of discipline, and that soldiers have discipline, and so do performing artists. And to create this piece, we would have to use discipline. We would have to repeat things over and over again. And what did you find, friends of mine, think about discipline?
No fun.
Following rules.
Drat it.
Rules and more rules.
Listening.
And did we determine whether there was a good outcome to being disciplined? Did it end up being a good thing or a bad thing? Were there any candy bribes happening backstage? Were there any? Right. So they really did apply. We realized that we live in a time of freedom and that we could choose to be disciplined and create a piece for you today. And we started by imagining a time when that discipline wouldn't be a choice. Bardini, Ryan, Brolin, Noah, Caron, Denman, Coffee, Sylvia, De Palma, Gina, Domingo, Ramiel, Etheridge, Lily, Guan, Linda, Jones, Sasha, Kenny, Matthew, Kafitsi, Sabrina, Lockery, Elise, Lopez, KC, Ma, Samantha, McKay, Cameron, Rose, Kate.
And turn. Attention. At ease. Attention. At ease. Attention. Salute. Attention. And turn. Ready? March. And turn. Attention. At ease. Attention. At ease. Attention. Salute. Attention.
Life is what it is, and then it isn't. Suddenly there's a war, and you are told to go, or you volunteer to go. But really, you feel like there is no choice. You feel like it is the only and the right thing to do. You are told you must fight for the freedom of everyone in the world. It sounds like an awesome video game. But it isn't a video game. It's real, and many will not make it back home alive or uninjured. You wish you would have said one last thing to those you left behind.
I will miss you all.
Dear Mom and Dad, as you know, I am going to war, and I love you, Dad and Mom, and other families.
I love you, everyone, and I will miss you, Mom and Dad.
I love you so much, Mom. Don't worry, I will always be there for you, but I will see you again, XOXO.
I love you, Mom and Dad. Stay amazing, I love you, and I always will.
There is no way to get a message to the ones you love. You wish you could just send them all the letters of the alphabet. And so you do. You wave flags from ship to shore. And they do get the letters. And they land exactly how you hoped they would. And ready? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, and rest. That night, you sing yourselves to sleep. And 1, and 2, and 3, and...
We let the war wash over us. We let it go. We let the love wash over us. We let it go. We let the grief wash over us. We let it go. We let the freedom wash over us. We let it go.
I am thankful for love and Weird Al concerts.
I am thankful for peace and gymnastics. I am thankful for freedom and school.
I am thankful for peace and yummy treats. I'm thankful for freedom and YouTube. I am thankful for peace and dance. I am thankful for freedom and soccer.
I am thankful for freedom in my school.
I'm thankful for peace and dance.
I'm thankful for love and gymnastics.
I'm thankful for peace and everything wonderful we have. I'm thankful for freedom and video games.
I'm thankful for freedom and pets.
I'm thankful for peace and computers.
I'm thankful for freedom and basketball.
I'm thankful for freedom and sports.
I'm thankful for this opportunity and privilege to work with these young people contemplating freedom and discipline, along with Tara Cheyenne Friedenberg and Mark Stewart, who did the sound, and Mrs. Weisenberg. Thank you very much.
Is it on? And I'm thankful for young people like that. Weren't they wonderful? They were wonderful. You know, I think we baby boomers don't have much to worry about when we've got young people coming up like that. Now, before we continue, sorry, can you hear me? Before we continue with the rest of the program, I want to introduce you to a very special guest that we have with us today. Whitey Bernard. He was 5 years old when Claude Dietloff took the single snapshot that would change both their lives forever. He became synonymous with the war effort and gave hope to thousands of separated families during the war. He is not a little boy anymore, but a distinguished gentleman, I could vouch for that, who will always have a special place in our city. He's kind of like an honorary New Westminster fellow, so there you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Whitey Bernard. Would you please stand? His wife, Ruby, will read his childhood memoir he was asked to prepare by Juno Beach Museum, where the Wait For Me Daddy photo is displayed. I think you changed that, didn't you? Anyway, Ruby, would you like to come down, or would you like to read it from there? Okay, thank you. It was prepared for the 70th anniversary of the liberation of the Netherlands. Yeah. Grandsons come in handy, yes. And they're so handsome too, aren't they? Would you like to hold the mic for you?
Thank you. As Laurie mentioned, the Juno Beach Museum mounted a special exhibit featuring childhood reminiscences of the war years. As this photo apparently hangs there, I was contacted and submitted the following, more or less written in the first person and from a child's point of view, and it contains my own snapshots. And I have to say that over 50 years of marriage, Whitey's provided an awful lot of material, but he's left me to do the editing. So there you go. I am the little boy in the Wait For Me Daddy photo at the Juno Beach Museum and Memorial. My father, Sergeant Jack D. Bernard, landed at Juno Beach and saw action through France, Belgium, Holland, and Germany. He left Canada for England in 1941, returning in October 1945. My experiences during those war years, 39 to 45, ages 4 to 10, were not so different from many who adapted to the absence of a dad, but they were certainly different from what I was used to. Like many other soldiers' wives, my mom left the small hometown and went to the city where work was more available. Snapshot. Penticton, BC. I'm going to have to move over here where I can hang on to something. Snapshot. Penticton, BC. I am in the bathtub in my aunt's house with orders to scrub myself clean. Mom is off to the station to say goodbye. I hear the whistle of the old Kettle Valley steam locomotive approaching the level crossing nearby. I bail out of the tub and run off naked down the main street of Penticton. Dad's on the train, Dad's on the train. It's the troop train, destination Vancouver, the first going away, and I was 4. We moved to the coast. Dad's in the Army. Granddad comes to take us for a big drive to New Westminster. On the sidewalk, we follow the soldiers down the hill to the ship. Dad's going to war, Dad's going to war. The famous picture appears in the newspaper the next day. Unknown to us, the ship sails only to Nanaimo for boot camp. Now Dad comes back from the short stay and is on his way to the train station in Vancouver. He's marching across the old Georgia Viaduct, and I am riding on his shoulders. He's off to Camp Borden, Ontario, where he will learn more soldier stuff. Now Mom and I are by ourselves. Another snapshot. It is Ocean Falls, December 7th, 1941. The Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. Mom and I are living in this remote mill town on the BC coast. I am in grade 1, and Mom is working in the mill. We acquire a couple of rental rooms in a house. At school, I have 2 Japanese girls in my class. I learn that all the Japanese are going to be moved out. I go to the steamer dock, and I wave goodbye to my friends. and I don't understand because they are my friends. Lots of tears and sadness at the dock. And little pictures have big ears, so I listen to all the big people's talk. Hawaii is so close. The Japanese have radio transmitters hidden here. And then they start to burn down what they called Japanese town. After school, I hang around with the other kids, and I sneak into some of the houses. I bring a beautiful bamboo bird cage home, and I'm immediately ordered to take it back. I argue it's going to be burned, it's going to be burned. Nevertheless, take it back. It doesn't belong to you. So I did, and I guess they burned it. And I wonder, what happened to the birds? Another snapshot. It's Christmas, 1943, and Dad's home on short leave. It's called compassionate leave. We're back in Vancouver, and we're living in a storefront at 8th and Burrard, and I am grade 3, and it is the end of the marriage. Dad's home, and he's not staying with us, and I don't get it. I think it's because he's in the Army he can't stay with us. He takes me out for the day to Spencer's department store to see Santa Claus, to ride the Christmas train, to do the fish pond, and to see Grandpa, and to eat in a restaurant. We come home to the storefront, and I'm listening to the kids' program on the radio. Mom and Dad are in the back room, kitchen, and my mother keeps yelling at me to get my slippers on. But I'm deaf. My ears are tuned into Superman. Voices are raised, and Dad is saying, "Leave the kid alone." Then crash, bang, and some swearing, and Dad leaves, saying, "Look after yourself, Buck." Goodbye again. The remaining warriors, watching my mom reading the paper and crying when the missing in action and killed in action lists finally hit the news. Being from a small town with a very high enlistment rate, we have Dad plus uncles, cousins, and neighbors on active service, friends and family all over the map, from Burma to Sicily, England, and Europe after D-Day. At age 8, I can read the paper myself, and I do. Dad's V-mails are a reminder he's okay, but the adult talk is always on the absent man. Dad, Uncle Joe, Cousin Hector, who lost his leg, Johnny so-and-so, who fell down a well in Italy. I visit my friends Gary and Richard. Their dad is called Missing in Action. We have air raid warnings, blackouts, rationing, accommodation problems, ongoing for servicemen's wives with kids. We move, and we move, and we move. There is a new school every September. Life in the storefront and other people's houses, boarded out, sent back to hometown every summer, remembering all the good times, goodbye times, and trying to put a face to Dad. And the picture, always the picture in the background. They come and take me out of school because of the picture. It's no big deal because I'm going to do my bit for the war effort. I wear my navy blazer, white shirt, and short pants, and I join the entertainers in the victory bond drives. There are singers and dancers. Those are the girls who like my white hair. There's a ventriloquist, Edgar Bergen. We go to war plants and shipyards and put on a show, and the workers buy victory bonds. At the end of the entertainment, the large picture is unveiled. I point to the picture and make a short speech ending in, "Buy a bond today for all the little boys and girls and bring their daddies home." The war in the Pacific, living on the West Coast, is always on one's mind. Of course, it isn't anything like the kids in England and Europe are subjected to. When D-Day is announced, we know Dad and Uncle Joe are in on it. My grandfather, a World War I vet who lost an arm, comes to be with us that day. He has 2 sons, both in armored brigades, hopes and fears, and more tears. And then, victory. And more of Dad's V-mails finally arrive, months worth at once. He's okay. How am I? Write more often. How's school? Be a good boy. Later, we find out what a tough time those first few weeks in France were for our men. Much later, we understand those men would never quite be the same again. For the kids, most of the ones I knew were survivors and did well in their lives. Those years did us no harm. The happiest day in my 10-year-old life is the day Dad comes home in one piece. Submitted by Warren D. Whitey Bernard.
Thank you very much, Ruby and Whitey, for letting us know exactly what the human side. It's not all glory and this. There is the everyday things, and the people change. I mean, war changes everything. Our next piece is a very special part of the program. They need some time to set up, so I'm going to ramble on here a bit. But we're very excited to have with us the University of Calgary's Wind Ensemble. They will perform 4 pieces from their repertoire. One of the pieces is having its New Westminster debut today. It was written by New Westminster composer Brian Garbett to commemorate the Wait For Me Daddy photograph. Imagine this, we have our own music for the photograph. I think that's wonderful. Being from New Westminster and having relatives who went overseas in the war, this photograph resonated with Brian from the moment he saw it. Setting this photograph to music was a natural aspiration. 3 main subjects, Whitey Bernard and his parents in the foreground, are represented by the 3 distinct sections of the piece. Oncoming, seemingly endless rows of soldiers in threes, moving from the background towards the foreground, are represented by a steady crescendo of 3 snare drums. They are moving at the same tempo that the regiment soldiers would have marched, independent of the activity in the foreground. The tempo of the snares are independent of the tempo of the rest of the ensemble in this section. The music is intended to evoke a surreal and dreamlike state, for the listener to be caught up in a vast emotions and excitement of the moment. The musical content was largely derived from a spectral analysis of a young boy saying the words, "Wait for me, Daddy." So until I get the signal that they're ready, I'm here to entertain you. I considered a soft shoe shuffle and a song, but instead, I'm going to talk about the Anvil, I always want to say the Anvil Square, the Hayek Square. I'm not sure if you've seen this folder. It's going to be the completion of Hayek Square, and there are going to be memorial bricks put out next, February 10th, correct? 9th, all righty, for one day. Anyway, these are the folders. Come take a look at them, and there may be somebody you want to remember. Now, there's a sample brick, and I've already bought one, and it's in remembering my mother. And you can remember anybody. It's not a military thing. It's anything that you want to remember and anybody that you want to honor. It can be anything. The bricks are they're quite substantial, quite heavy. I have one in my car, mine. And you get 2 lines of 18 characters each. And even the spaces are called a character, but anyway. Do pick up one of these. And they'll be available right here at the corner as you file out, or either corner, I suppose. And take a look at it, or pass it on to somebody else who might want to honor somebody. They don't have to be from New Westminster. They can be from anywhere, I guess. And they're not ready yet back there, so now I've got to talk about something else. All right, I am going to tell you, too, about how I met Whitey. No, I'll even back that up. I'll back it up to the time when I was, Honor House had just been opened, and we were having lunch with some veterans and people from Honor House, and the mayor was there, and I was there, and somehow the Wait For Me Daddy photograph was mentioned, and I said, where was this taken? They said, here in New Westminster. And we started talking at the table, why haven't we honored this? Why have we not brought attention to this? And that's when the mayor said, all right, we'll make a task force. That's it. Look into it. And so it took on a life of its own, little by little. I think I mentioned this also at the unveiling. We got a task force together. We sent out across Canada, and I think it probably went around the world too, but for people to submit ideas. And we got, I think, 13 or 15 ideas, submissions. We narrowed them down to 5, and what we do is then we ask these 5 people, the artists, to submit a maquette, which is a mock-up of what they intend to do. And with the surprise to everybody, it was a unanimous decision when we picked the winner. And then, of course, we had to deal with that council, and that was the second thing. We did bring all 5 to the council with a recommendation of the one that we had picked. And to our surprise, it was a unanimous decision. So now, ladies and gentlemen, the lights have dimmed, and that's my signal. Please put your hands together for the University of Calgary's Wind Ensemble. Thank you.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. It is a real pleasure to be here and be a part of these anniversary celebrations. I'd like to start by saying a big thank you to Biljana Velkova and the organizers of this event. As I say, it's a real treat for us to be out here and enjoying this beautiful warm weather this afternoon. Now, we have the piece that was inspired by this iconic photograph that one of our doctoral composition students, Brian Garbet, composed. The other three pieces we are performing today, we're trying to capture different elements of the emotional content of this photograph, from the heart-pounding intensity of going off to the unknown, to the absolute tenderness and love that we see between father and son. This next piece is that turn, this beautiful, tender moment. This is a wonderfully poignant setting of Wild Mountain Time by Samuel Hazel. Thank you very much. This now brings us to the central piece on our performance, our portion of this performance this afternoon. Brian Garbay's Wait for Me, Daddy, the piece that was inspired by this photograph. Brian is with us today, and I would like to invite him up to say a word about his piece. So please welcome Brian Garbay.
It's good to be home. I've been away for a couple of years at school, and I'd love to thank the city of New Westminster and everyone involved for inviting my music to be a part of this celebration. The children earlier spoke about a few things, and when they were talking about discipline, you're going to see an example of that here when what you have in this ensemble is three percussionists playing snare drum at a certain tempo, and the rest of the ensemble is going to be performing at a completely different tempo in the first section of the piece. It takes a lot of dedication to listening and discipline to make that happen. But that's also about separation, and it's one thing that I got from the photograph. Was the activity that was going on in the front with Whitey and his parents and the soldiers that were moving in threes at a completely different world than what was happening up front. And in this piece, when it came time to put it to music, I took that moment and my attempt was to create kind of a dreamlike atmosphere and stretch out that moment much longer. And doing research, I also saw a woman in the background, and she's mentioned about, and her name is Agnes Confortin, and she's staring right at the camera as he's taking the photograph behind Whitey's mother. And she was there. She had no one marching in that line, but her two brothers were already overseas. And it was captured in the photograph, and it was captured in the statue. You can see her there as well. And one of her brothers came home, the other one did not. And she was there marching in solidarity with these soldiers who were going off to war. And this photograph obviously resonates with a lot of people, and one of the reasons that it spoke to me was I had so many relatives who served in the war. And my mother's older brothers were serving over there. Alexei Fortin, Albert Fortin, both missing in action. Alec Fortin was a prisoner of war in Japan. Harold Harkes, my uncle George Harkes, they came home. My grandfather, George Garbett, he was serving in the independence of Holland, and he came home. And this was a very important photograph to me, and it also was for my own father, who served in the military, obviously not in World War II, but he was stationed overseas in Germany. And my father recently passed away. And this piece is dedicated to my dad, who was he was my go-to for information on the military. And when I was doing this piece, he was the person I went to for information. He was a big help, and I'd like to dedicate this piece to, obviously, my relatives who served and my father. Thank you.
Such a beautifully moving piece in so many wonderfully unexpected ways. The final piece of our portion of the program and this first half of the program is titled Invictus by Philip Spark, and it is very fittingly simply about the triumph of human spirit. Thank you so much for being here today and including us in these anniversary celebrations. It is a real treat to be here.
Well, welcome home, Brian Gervais. We're glad you came. And to all of you wonderful musicians from the University of Calgary, ladies and gentlemen, let's give them one more hand. I'm sure they can hear us. We really appreciate them coming. There's going to be about a 15-minute intermission, and 3:30, please be back in the seat for the next part, brief encounters. Thank you.
This is the end, beautiful friend. I hate war movies. It brings me right back to the 29th of April, 1975. I was 8 years old. Saigon was in panic. The Americans had left. School and business had shut down. I remember the fear, the hopelessness was overwhelmed through everybody. We have a wonderful house, I would say, in the outskirts of the big city. It's just like New West compared with Vancouver. Our home is large, it's beautiful, it feels safe to stay in. But on that day, the only thing I could say is I was sheltered inside that house. The only big holes I can look through is to the door, which is covered by a sheet of metals and wood to protect us from the outsider. In Saigon at the time, every household have a metal sheet door. It's a just like accordion's door. It can open wide and it can shut down easily. But on that day alone, the door now is being enforced with more metal sheet. I remember my dad put some metal sheet, plywood, everything strengthened that door to almost to the point that unbreakable to protect us from the outsiders. But on the top there was a little gap between the sheet of metals. You can look through and see somebody walking by. I remember I couldn't see anything. The road in front of the house was very busy road. There was 4-lane street. Everything was silent. It's quiet. No sound of kid running up the street. No sound car. Sometimes we complain about sound or noise on the street. But imagine one day you hear none of that. It means you are alone. Nobody. That's the scary thing. The only thing I hear in the background was my mom calling, "Get away from the door. Come in." My mother wanted to save me from the outsider. At the time, only thing we know is the Viet Cong. Never seen one before, but through image in television, they came like dead. They came with the weapons. They wouldn't understand what we're saying. They came to kill and burn everything down. That's all we learned as a child. And I'm just curious. I want to know who coming. I want to know what they look like. I want to look into their eyes and tell them, please, passing by, nobody here, don't come in. We okay here, we safe here. Don't come in, leave us alone. That's what all I want as a kid. But the whole day, none. In those moments, you you kind of learn that something bad, something sad gonna happen, but the waiting for it is the worst. Later in the afternoon, there were tanks. They were so loud. On those tanks are the true Viet Cong. Vividly, I could remember my mom said, get away from there. I couldn't, because for the first time I saw Viet Cong in my real eyes. True image, they much slimmer than us. Some of them are extremely skinny. They look like skeleton. That some of them are just so skinny. They dark with a sunburned skin. They wear green outfit, totally dark green outfit. They have a hat. I don't have a name for it. It's called mũ nồi. It looks like you have a pot over your head, and all their body covered with branches, with leaves. They camouflage themselves. They rather look at something that I never seen before, something unreal. Fascinating enough, that is, they look like Vietnamese. They don't look like Chinese. They don't look like Russians. They look like a lost brothers, a lost uncles to us. But now they came to complete their job as a victors, as the winners in the game, and they have the power all over us. That's scary. I remember we overheard that they will go to door and collect the people who involved with the older government. So we just hope that they miss. They missed my dad, but they didn't. They didn't. May the 7th, there was a troop of Viet Cong. They carry AK guns in the shoulder. They walk from door to door, and you can tell on the street was uncertain. People scream, "The Viet Cong is coming, run!" But where would we run for? I mean, we have no way to run, and I was angry. We did our best to hide, but we couldn't. Just play hide and seek. Now you got found. I felt hopeless. What could I do to help my dad? I felt fear, because what would we do without him? What would they do to my dad? They would hurt him? They would kill him? If I remember, my dad looked a little pale. He looked a little disconnected. He kind of lost somewhere. My dad is the man who say so little to us. On that day, we opened the door. I mean, my dad opened the door. He's asked all of us to stay behind. He have a short talk with one of the Viet Cong. I came back. He took out one of his traveling bags. Mind you that my dad, the well-dressed man, but not that day he didn't. He just picked up randomly and stuffed into that bag. And then he walked out. He still looked very disoriented, but he was able to sit down in the large couch in the living room, and looked to us. He said, "Kids, come here." So he threw his arm out, and we just jump into it. I always the one who would jump first. I was closer to him, and all my brothers and sisters around, and he gave us a large, big hug. I remember clearly from his trembling voice. He said, "I must go. I don't know when I'll be back. Look after your mom." And quietly he got up and he walked away. I hear a crying out from my mother, who just stood at the corner of the living room, feels so hopeless. She trembled, but her reaction was most like frozen from inside out without know what to do next. I was a short little kid, so I ran free. Ran after my dad, and again I heard the sound. My mom said, "Come back here." And again I didn't, so I ran up. Outside was a troop of Viet Cong, and a lineup of men in various age and look. Every one of them have a bag. They took my dad's arms and pushed him right into the line. My dad turned around, gave me the last look. Here was a try to say goodbye to dad, because we are now loser. We lost, and the winners now come and collect us away. There's no winning. There's no winner in the child mind. Either you win or you lose in the war games. The kids are the one who felt the pain most.
Giờ phút chia tay xa đoàn con thân yêu, người muốn chung sớm mau nên người đoàn kết yêu thương đùm bọc nhau mọi ngày và cố gắng vượt mọi khổ đau. Tình cha ban thuở thiết tha, bao la niềm yêu thương chan chứa. Lòng con mừng hát, chúng con luôn ca ngợi khen cha. Cha ơi, đường quê hương tươi đẹp quá. Ngày mai vạn lý, cha về, người sẽ thương con.
Summertime 1940 in London, and I was being born into the middle of a war. My actual memories of the war, of course, don't start for a few years. By that time, the people were fed up of running to the shelters every night. So at least in our building, the neighbors would all gather in somebody's apartment and play cards as though nothing was happening. My favorite thing to do, when they were all engrossed in their games, I'd sneak underneath the air raid blackouts and watch the giant fireworks display in the sky. Of course, at that age, there was no fear and there was no anxiety. It was just pretty spectacular. London was covered in barrage balloons, which were huge balloons full of nitrogen and helium that were attached to the ground on thick steel cables. The purpose was to stop the bombers coming in too low, because if they came in below the balloons, they ran a great risk of ripping off their wings when they hit the cables, which the pilots couldn't see. This is the main reason that most of London's great buildings survived the war, because they couldn't come low enough to actually find their targets. Besides, there were many, many anti-aircraft batteries firing at the airplanes. Every sixth bullet that they fired was a tracer, which meant it had a little firework in the back of it. So as it went up, the gunners could see exactly where their bullets were going. And beside every emplacement was a huge searchlight that tried to find the planes and keep them in its beam so the gunners could have a good target. One of the prettiest things to me was watching the little silver bombs falling through the searchlight beams. And every once in a while, the anti-aircraft fire would hit a barrage balloon, and it would explode like a huge fireball in the sky.
Canada is not a dumping ground, and we have our own problems with poverty as it is.
The great gunning bee. And with that single sentence, you loudly proclaim your complete ignorance of the issues and also your personal bigotry.
Robert Cooper. The Canada I served didn't hem and haw about what to do or rescue others. It acted.
Gareth Jones. Are you somewhat hard of thinking or just deranged? The fact that you are ignorant of the extreme dangers of overpopulation proves that you're worth only my pity.
Earl Richards. Our budgets cannot afford these people.
The great gunning bee. Obviously, reading comprehension isn't one of your abilities. Perhaps you should cut down on the demon drink, especially in the morning.
Robert Cooper. I wish we were the confident and just nation we used to be.
Brit 1968. Sorry, can't take you seriously after that statement.
Earl Richards. These Syrian refugees are not our concern.
Hey guys, do you know why cannibals don't eat clowns? Because they taste funny. My second most vivid memory of the war was sometime later. Our apartment building was a 4-story walk-up with a circular stairway running down the middle of the building. We were all on our way on the stairway. I remember holding my mother's hand as we went down the stairway. All the neighbors were pouring out of their apartments into the stairwells, and everybody was heading down to the shelters. When suddenly, the building next door took a direct hit, and our building began to shake like a leaf. Everybody just grabbed the railings, and I remember thinking, how interesting. They've all turned into white statues. And everybody was frozen and chalk white. Of course, I was too young to know what was happening, so for me, it was merely interesting. My mother was the first one to come around. She gave herself a shake, reached into her purse for her flask of brandy that she always carried there, took a drink, gave me a drink. My first taste of alcohol, I thought, oh, that was good. And then we all trooped down to the shelters.
Well, yeah, that's, I think it's a theater thing. Isn't it?
Yeah.
They always leave the light bulbs so nobody trips on themselves when they come in.
Is this sprung? This floor?
Yes, it's an end grain. It's not. I don't think it's called a spring floor, but it's an end grain wood floor.
Ah, it's
You can
very
see there's a whole bunch
unique.
of end of the blocks of wood.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah, so all
how
pieces
thick is
of
it?
end grain wood. How thick?
Yeah.
I don't know that, but I know they're always nervous about scratching it out.
It's good
Oh.
sound.
It's not sprung.
Oh, it's never a
No, I
good
don't
thing to
think
have
it's a
floor
spring
where
floor.
you
It's,
get scratched.
it's an end grain though. You can see
Yeah.
like it's an end
That
grain
Yeah.
makes it
wood.
softer.
Can't remember how many. Apparently it does. Yeah. I guess it's good for sound as well.
Yeah.
Sound.
But anyways, like I said, the theater can change, the seating arrangements can slightly change. Like there is these wooden slats here, that's actually seats.
Ah.
Come out. So there's on the sides if they come out. I think this has to go back, because this come out as a part of this next out. Some different configurations.
It's really interesting.
Then all this
like the
can fold
theaters
right
going
down.
right onto the stage.
I don't know. For some reason, I thought I had an image of like a rise stage, and I was like, "Oh shit! I don't want to dance."
Basically, yeah, all the things fold right down.
But it makes it more intimate. Like this
It does.
is quite
It's
nice.
so big that like
بنی آدم اعضای یکدیگرند که در آفرینش ز یک گوهرند. چو عضوی به درد آورد روزگار، دگر عضوها را نماند قرار. تو که از غم دیگران بیغمی، نشاید که نامد نهند آدمی.